Good morning, everybody. It is now 10:07. Welcome to the meeting. Um, Feel free when we're going down the agenda to voice your opinion, help out staff. Also, we will go with breaking the icebreaker. You can either put in a chat or you can tell it on recording. The icebreaker today will be, have you been to a rodeo? Briefly, share your experience. Mine, and I'll start out. My name's George Adams, down in Medford, Jackson County, Southern Oregon. Co-chair with Maria. And my experience was many years ago, I was in a rodeo up at the Dalles, Oregon. I enjoyed the rodeo up there and haven't been to one. And so now I'm given a chance to go to one. And when I come back from my trip this week, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be my sister, brother-in-law, and myself enjoy the rodeo when I get back from my trip. So let's go with Andrew.
Hey everybody, Andrew Demaray, 1BA for the ONE Online portal. It's been a long time since I've been to a rodeo, but I used to go to rodeos with my family in near Chelan, Washington. My uncle lived on Lake Chelan, and anytime we'd visit him, we'd go to a rodeo. But probably 20 years, if not more, since I've been to one. Let's go, Susan.
Susan Garcia, I'm a community partner with the Community Health Centers of Lane County. And I went to my one and only rodeo like 4 years ago, maybe here in Eugene. And now I know what they mean by rodeo clown. There are clowns at the rodeo. So it's my experience. Next, I guess, Susana.
Thank you. Azucena Moreno, pronouns she, her, ella. I am the OEP, Equity and Engagement Strategy Manager with ODHS. I honestly don't think I've ever been to a rodeo, which is weird because I'm from Bakersfield, California, and they have rodeos there pretty consistently. But I just don't think my family ever. I'm imagining it. I was like, I know I've seen that like in the fairs. I know they have rodeos when we're at the fairs, but whenever we go to the fair, like we never go to the rodeo section of it. So no, I don't believe I have. And with that, I will pass it to Veronica.
Good morning. My name is Veronica Kritsky. I am the BA for the Applicant Portal mobile app. And I have never been to a rodeo, so sorry, nothing exciting to share on that. But I might put it on my bucket list for this summer because I do live in the Midwest, so I feel like I should have been to at least one rodeo in my life by now. And I will pass it on to Paul.
Thank you, Veronica. Paul Alderson, I'm a PSR4 for the Applicant Portal technical team. I grew up very close to the Washington and Oregon border, and I was blessed to go to the world-renowned Pendleton Roundup several times growing up. So yes, I've been to several rodeos, but I haven't been in probably 35 or 40 years to age myself. But yes, it's been a long time since I've been to a rodeo. And I will pass it to Judith.
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not crazy about rodeos. I don't like hot, and it gets so hot when you're watching them, and It gets really stinky. I'm sorry. But I think that my one positive experience was I was raised in Fallbrook, California, and Roy Rogers and his lovely wife Dale were friends of my parents. And so they always had things for kids. They had little rodeos. And so Roy Rogers put me on his Palomino and it took off. And it went down the creek, up the hill, up the mountain, and I hung on for dear life. I gotta tell you, that was an experience of life, and that's when I decided, you know what? Those rodeo people, they earn their money, and that's it. Oh, and I choose Maria.
Hello, good morning. I don't think I've been to a rodeo, but I really want to try to attend that St. Paul rodeo. Yes. I'm gonna pass it to NJ.
Hi, community program coordinator with Asian Health and Service Center. No, I never been to rodeo. Maybe I've seen it on TV,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Mm.
Okay. Did everybody go? Adriana?
Hello, I'm Adriana Marlin, the Translations Notice Specialist, one of them for OEP. Um, yes, I'm gonna join the train that has not been to a rodeo. I grew up in Southern California, and I don't know, Azucena, it sounds like you had more opportunities in your area. There were none in my area around Pasadena. Um, but when I first moved to Oregon, I went to a monster truck place or show in Sublimity, and that was really cool to see. Like right when I moved, I was like, "Oh, people love monster trucks."
A rodeo with trucks.
Yes, yes, exactly. So I feel like that's pretty close. So yeah.
Would you like to hand it over to?
Yes. Dion, have you gone yet?
No, I haven't gone yet. Dion Destin, he, him. I'm executive support for Jillian Johnson, our sponsor. I I mean, I grew up in Salinas, California, and they have a big rodeo there. So that as a kid was just about the rodeo clowns and cotton candy. But later in life, I actually worked at a boot barn, which that was our it's kind of a Western store for those that don't know, but it's rodeo became a lot of work, but I got free passes to the tent and I was of age to drink and I did that. So that was kind of a nice little perk. There may be evidence of a picture out there with me and the Coors Light girls. I don't know. I don't know if that still exists.
Woohoo!
And then I'm not sure who's left. I'll kick it over to James. I don't think I've heard you go.
I have not. I lived in a small town in Montana, so I actually knew a rodeo rider too, and it's just fascinating. It's tough, and on a more serious note, if you've ever there's a movie that came out a few years back that got a lot of award buzz called The Rider, the director Chloe Zhao, and it's really incredible. It's pretty intense. So that would be something to check out. But how about Brandy? I don't think you've gone.
I haven't gone yet. Hi, everyone. Brandy Strom here in Grants Pass. I work with Maslow Project. And okay, we'll start with the negative first. So I did attend a rodeo one time here in Grants Pass, and there was a bronc rider, and it didn't go well. The horse flipped over backwards, and they ended up having to like tractor it out. So that was pretty terrifying for a lot of folks there, especially children. Other than that, though, any other rodeo that I've been to has been really fun. There's a lot of skill there, and I'm also a horse person, so I kind of like follow it a little bit. But yeah, super fun. Other than that. And I don't know who else is left. I think most people. Vanessa, maybe?
Yeah, I haven't gone. So rodeos. So grew up half of my time living in Mexico, half time in the States. So we did a lot of La Plaza de Toros. So toreos is what I grew up doing. Bullfighting. I mean, they had horse dancing and a ton of other stuff. Majority bullfights. And then in the States, we actually in Southern California have in Pico Rivera, El Farallón. So that was my closest thing to a rodeo. I mean, it's basically the same thing.
Oh, no, no, it's more dangerous. Oh, it's so scary.
What?
Yeah, bullfighting. It's scary.
Okay, Vanessa, who would you like to pick on?
I am not sure who needs to go
I think
next.
Samantha is our one person.
Andrew, too.
Andrew's gone.
Andrew went like first, I think, but
Oh.
it's me. Hi, I'm Samantha Brookshire. I'm the strategic analyst for customer experience with the OEP Business Information Services team. And let me see. I have also never been to a rodeo. I grew up in Eugene, so right there by the Lane County Rodeo. And now I just live up the road from the St. Paul Rodeo. Have never been to either. So Maria, maybe we need to go to the St. Paul Rodeo together.
Sounds good.
Okay. So we got everybody. I'll let everybody know we have a long agenda. So 6 pages of it, 5 pages actually. So James, take it away.
Well, this is where I get to make my joke of like, yeah, we'll start the next part, but I just hand it over to Andrew. We can talk about some of the builds that are in the process that this group has put together.
So request 35, canceling appointments requiring a note with a reason from applicant portal or the online portal indicating who and why canceled the appointment and why. So the piece of that we're talking about here is 35E, and that's moving as part of change request 800363, which is currently scheduled for March of next year. And we are right now working out the level of effort on that, where our developer is telling us exactly how much work it's going to take to do everything that we want to do and determining what we can include, what we can't include. So it's starting to become real with that change request. Request 50, add ERDC waitlist status to applicant portal and mobile app. Was originally scheduled for March. It has been moved to this month's build. So later this week, that should be going into the system. Request 62, going in the June build, is changing the word from research to resource in the resource assistance for rural environments stipend type. Request 72, add a comment open text field for unearned income, for other income taxable and other income non-taxable that has been logged and will come with the July 9th build. Make it easier to report things such as paid leave organ. Request 64, asset verification, description, and consent. So we've talked a little bit about this before. The policy teams are okay with us finding a way to add this, to add a new way to consent to AVS via the online portal. But we're running into a little bit of issues with level of effort, and our work items can only encompass so many hours of effort into them to make this happen. So we're still working with Deloitte to find out exactly how we can implement this in a way that's going to be beneficial for everybody, and make the most sense for the population that would be consenting to AVS. Request 71, no longer asking, one was no longer asking for annual income for people 65 and older when they were sharing a household with somebody who was under 65. And A little bit of background on this is that folks under 65 would qualify for Magi programs, and some of those programs need the annual income not just for that individual, but for everyone in the household. So it was creating issues where we weren't able to determine eligibility for those folks in the online portal. And Magi Medical is one program that we do have an automated eligibility run in the online portal. So this was determined to actually be a defect introduced as part of a different change that we entered into the system. And so that's being fixed. And is there a date on the next slide here?
No.
Nope.
June 11th is what I have.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
on the actual agenda that I somehow didn't get it over.
Okay. Yeah. So next month this will be fixed.
Yeah. And I feel like I should mention that, we have our process of work items and there's a limited number and we get to go through and get to make changes into the system, and Andrew and Samantha and Veronica do tons of work to make that happen with our contractors. Defects are found that, well, there's a screw up and it doesn't count against our limit on how many we get to send in to fix. So it sort of gets to jump the line, I suppose, is one way to think of it.
Yep. Yeah, so this was determined, like I said, it was introduced as part of a different change that I think was changing how the annual income screens queue, or in this case, don't queue for individuals 65 and older, because they don't need to answer those questions. So it's appropriate that it doesn't queue when it's a household made up of just individuals 65 years and older, and it makes the application process more simplified for them. But we found those mixed households, it was causing eligibility issues.
James, would you
yeah, George?
Would you like to tell the group what you and I and Samantha talked about as far as having to verify who we are to get into the system?
Oh,
The receptacle where you click on check and verify.
oh yeah. I mean, I think that's going to be related to one of the requests that we're going to be talking about.
I thought it was in 64, sorry.
No, that's the asset verification, not the, sort of personal identification, identity proofing. But
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, the login screen. So this is where now we get into the heart of things. And Andrew's gonna keep going. I might suggest let's talk about 78 since that one's a little shorter, and then we can jump into 77, which is going to be a longer discussion. And so I think, George, this is related to what you were just bringing up, that the login screen that we use, and we can probably switch to the briefing sheet here, but the login screen is, it looks like there's a strong possibility that it's going to be changed. So we're wondering how much work we should put into this when in fact it's probably all going to get changed around in a few months anyway. And Samantha or Andrew, you probably can speak more clearly on all this.
Yeah, so I think what James is hinting at is we could have two competing efforts going into updating some of our online portal screens. So there's us, the one business analyst team, but then we also have a communications team who focuses on some of our customer or public facing websites. They've had so we have two different websites. We have one .org.gov, which is the one homepage that we're familiar with. Then there's benefits.oregon.gov, I believe is the other one, which is another Oregon state government landing page for benefit assistance. And so they want to focus everything to that benefits.oregon.gov website and have that be the main landing page. And then from from there navigate directly to the login page. And the login page is this page that James is showing right now that we had talked about in last meeting. And in a meeting we had with them, they expressed interest in taking ownership or design control of this screen as well. So that's kind of what James is hinting at, that if we end up going that route with them wanting to redesign it from the communications team standpoint, then how much effort and time are we able to spend with updating this if it's going to just be changed again in a, whenever that project makes those changes. So this one, I think, because of that, is going to be kind of put on hold for a minute while we work out things with that team. I still think it's, once we get, my desire would be once we continue those conversations with the communications team and we get an idea of what they are interested in doing, that we're still able to, show you guys what we're working on, or show y'all what we're working on, and kind of get some input and some feedback. But it's kind of hard to say right now because it is a little bit all up in the air. But what I can talk about is kind of in relation to what we talked about last time, some concerns that were brought up from what we had decided on. So if you could scroll down a little bit. So what we had talked about is moving, is separating the reCAPTCHA, which is the pick 5 sets of stairs and click verify and then the login would show up after that, separating it into 2 different displays. So complete, sorry, actually scroll back down to the very next page, whoever's driving here. This is the decision that we had went with, and the concern that we're hearing from one of our information analysts who deals with a lot of duplicate accounts and issues like that, and sees on the back end of our system more of the issues that individuals have with trying to access the system. The way this is currently designed, like when we look at this right now, the first thing, the biggest thing on the screen in terms of clickable content that we see is that create an account button. So the concern is when someone comes here and they're trying to just get into the system, they may not know to click this verify to get to the login, to log in with their existing thing. The easiest thing for them to see and click is just to create a new account, which is leading to individuals creating duplicate accounts. So I think what the hope is here as we continue to find a solution is to maybe make it, to draw the eye or to make it more accessible and easy to see that you can enter the system with the account that you already have, and then maybe make it a smaller, less, I guess, I don't know what the word is, but take up less screen real estate with less prominent option to create a new account. So I just blabbed a lot about that, but I guess we don't really have, I don't think we have much of a proposal to take forth after this that we need to vote on or anything. Just wanted to give kind of an update of where we're at with that. So I think submitting this work item from our standpoint is on hold for a little bit until we get more information from the communications team, and that we may look to do, even once we kind of pick this back up, even further redesigns on the layout here.
Andrew, do you want some feedback?
Yeah, if people have thoughts on that or need me to clarify kind of what we're thinking, but yeah,
I feel like we're sort of jerks here because we said, oh, let's do some work. Oh, we're taking your idea, and now we're saying, oh, wait a second, no, we're not going to take your idea here. We're going to wait. So that I just want to spell that out. But George, yeah.
Guys, now would be an idea to give him some advice to Andrew, or what you thought.
I think it's a valid point, because if you go to the first screen, you really don't know what to do. If you already have a login, I can see how people, well, not in that, the one that we had come up with, while you do reCAPTCHA first, it has to be, or something has to be obvious saying, already have an account, click here first, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think we even see the issue with our current design because I think the whole issue, the whole reason we were trying to redesign this is because when you first land on this screen as it is now, the username and password fields are grayed out until you complete that reCAPTCHA process. So, you know, either someone doesn't realize what they need to do is complete the verification process to be able to log in, or they can't figure it out, they get frustrated, and they just create a new account because that's an option that lets them proceed. So yeah, that's something we hope to make easier. And we may, like I said, we may bring, if it ends up that we are the ones who are going to make this change, we may bring it back and talk more about what that looks like. Or if we're getting input from the communications team on how they would like to change it, I still would like to include this group's voice in feedback on that.
So what do you think, Maria, Veronica, Vanessa, Anja, Adrian? Oh,
Hi.
Georgia. Oh, go ahead.
I agree with Maria. Just wait till more updates, maybe.
Yeah, and that's kind of where we're at. So unless anyone has any like direct thoughts or feedback at the moment, we can just move on to the next discussion.
I just have a thought, if I may, to potentially make it more clear for people that they are trying to access into their already existing account. I wish I could move the cursor myself, but could it be possible to write in to log into an already existing account, semicolon, yep, to the left there, and then to create a new account, just having additional wording to make that more clear for people?
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. And Sam has actually done a lot of work looking into how other states and other government websites implement this sort of thing. And it seems pretty consistent that they'll have the login to an existing account really be what's mostly displayed on the screen. And then in smaller text below that have links and options on how to create a new account if you don't already have an account, which I think is, generally pretty consistent with most websites that I see, is that, you'll be met with the login fields most prominently on the screen, and then below that you'll have information on how to create a new account. So
Very nice. Okay. And yes, I agree with Maria's comment. It might be beneficial to wait until we hear more updates.
yeah.
Brandy and Vanessa, you want to say anything?
All right, I think we're good to move on from this one. And yeah, appreciate everyone's input last time. And sorry, we're putting this one on hold for a minute. I don't want to waste anyone's time or effort, but I think knowing where everyone stands on this is going to be helpful as we go forward.
Yeah, again, apologies for the switcheroo on you, but it's a big beast here, and we're trying to keep the different arms talking to each other. So then I guess we'll put 78 on hold, and now I'm going to spin us up the briefing sheet to go back to 77, which, as you can see, Andrew has added a lot of different items. So we have a whole, because we started this discussion last time and realized that we needed more information about what the different options mean, what's actually in the question marks for more info, all these different things. But yeah, this is just about when a household member is leaving and the requested information, the system requests certain information. And so how do we make it better for people to input that?
Yeah, and that actually brings up a good point, James, that we didn't talk about last time. So just quick reminder of where we're at with this one. So this is a question that when you have more than one household, or more than one household member on a case, this question will be asked for each additional household member. Is household member 2 living with household member 1? The answers are yes, yes part-time, no temporarily away, or no. And so the piece that we didn't talk about last time before we get into all these different options is there's 2 options here in particular: no temporarily away and no, which we think individuals may be clicking those intending to say like this person isn't a part of my case anymore, and that may not be super clear on what they need to do to like request that person removed from their case if that's what they're wanting to do. So from this same screen there is like a remove individual link, but it's not part of this question. So that may be something we want to consider here as well as we continue this conversation. So first off here, we have no temporarily away. And I think where we got caught up last time is looking at some of these different, these reasons of why the individual is still listed on the case.
And could we also, since this got an add member, could there be a button that reads subtract a member?
Yeah, so there is already that option on the screen. And it's, I'm kind of kicking myself now. I should have grabbed a screenshot of that as well. It's just located in a different part of the screen. And so I think that's kind of what I was just saying is it's not probably the most intuitive design that we could have here of how to add a member. I think the reason it's in a different place is because this shot we're looking at now where it says add member, that's not adding the member that you're working on. That would create an entirely different household member. So say we're working on adding household member 2 here and we click add member, that's going to add a third household member. Where the remove this person from my household link, it's not even a button, it's a link on the screen. Where that occurs is farther up on the screen where their name is. I can try and pull that up real quick as we're talking about
I was
this.
just thinking, boy, it'd be nice to see the full screen.
Yeah. Give me just
Andrew,
a
I'll
second.
drop it in chat for you.
Thank you, Sam.
I'm a helper.
Oh my.
I think it might be a little confusing if you got no temporary away, or if you've got one location that says no member and you've got an add member. That might confuse a person.
So I think there's kind of 2 things going on here, George, and we have to account for them when we always forget there's truly 2 scenarios happening, right? There's people who are going through this for the first time because they're just now applying for benefits. And we always think from that perspective. So you can, when you're just applying for benefits, mark that somebody is not living with you because they're temporarily away because they're working somewhere, right? They're going to school, they're working, whatever. And then there's the scenario where it's somebody who's ongoing, they already have benefits and they're reporting a change or they're up at renewal and they might be changing yes to no temporary away, or no temporary away back to yes, or no temporary away to no permanently. So there's different situations that can be going on here, and we need to think about it from that perspective of you're coming through for the very first time and you're setting their initial status when you're applying, as well as that that ongoing, things have changed sort of perspective. And definitely I will say that we thought a lot more about coming in for the first time and applying fresh than we did about that managing ongoing when we were thinking about how to set this up. So now we're going to go clean up some mistakes and think about both of those perspectives.
Samantha?
Yeah.
Does incarcerated fall into any of these? Not here, not temporarily away?
Yes. think you would, if somebody becomes incarcerated, you would flip them from yes to no for ongoing, and then if they were already incarcerated, they're gonna start as no. I think, yeah.
There's also later question. The incarcerated piece is kind of like covered in multiple areas as well, because
Yeah.
that's considered a living situation, like a living arrangement. So when
Thank
we
you,
get
Andrew.
to, yeah, so when we're in the living arrangement screen, it takes information from there as well.
Thank you.
So yeah, as James has here on the screen, we can see the remove member is, you know, up at the top of this section, and what we were previously looking at.
Oh, too far.
Yeah, you had it on. If you scroll down to have like household number 2 of 2, like at the top of the screen, like just a little bit higher.
Yeah, sorry. There it is.
There it is. So yeah, once this individual has been added through that add member button, that you would remove them up kind of at the top of their section here. And so that's where that link is. And James, if you scroll down just a little bit farther, we can see. Oh, I was hoping is
Yeah,
this.
it's not. This is a static mock-up screenshot. And I
Yeah.
realized after I pasted it that, oh, I didn't have that part too. So let me see if I can find a full. That would be easy, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, you know, I guess if while Sam's looking for that, we can see the remove member link is up at the top of this section. The other screenshots we were looking at where it's asking if that individual is living with the primary applicant, that occurs at the very bottom of each household member section. So down on this screenshot, down by where that add member button is. So you can see it's kind of a disconnect. Looks like Sam shared a separate screenshot here in our other chat.
So you need this one.
Yeah, and even it's not complete. I'm seeing it gives yes part-time, no temporary away, but doesn't show no.
Yeah, so just
Yep.
but it'll at least show a little bit better about what we're talking about. Apologies, everybody.
Okay, did I grab the right one? I think I have the right one.
Scroll down and we'll see. Yep. Okay, so is John living with yellow down here? That's at the bottom of this section. And so the concern is if someone's saying no, they're temporarily away, or no, they're not part of the case anymore, maybe they mean to remove this person from their household. It could be both situations. You know, there's instances based on whatever programs they're receiving that they would want to keep this person as part of their household. But we don't make it the easiest to say that they want to, you know, or the clearest to say, like, hey, we want to remove him. When we're asking this question, as you can see, that the ability to remove someone from the household isn't even showing on the screen anymore. So, you know, maybe we want to look at changing the location of that link, or making it a button down here with, you know, maybe above. So I'm kind of thinking on the fly here. Maybe we put, you know, a remove this household member button down here, and then we change this add member button to say, like, to be more clear, to say add new household member, because
You're talking
it's
about
not.
changing this button here. I'm sorry.
Well, I guess I'm thinking on the fly there, because say we move the remove household member button down where it's a link currently. Say we make that a button. We move it farther down the screen, down to where we're actually asking questions about, is this person living? You know, what if we put a button down there that allows them to remove the household member from there? Why I'm saying we maybe reword this other button is I think that makes it kind of, if we have a add and remove household member button so close to each other, I think it might be confusing that, like, they need to click that to add this current member. So maybe changing the wording of that to say add a new household member.
Maria, you had your hand up a little while back. Do you have something to share?
No, the question was answered. It's fine.
I have to admit I'm a little lost, so I suspect others are. So if I go to the top of this screen here and household member 1 of 2, so we've got 2 people in the household with their strange names. And so then we get to the point where are we wanting to add someone else or remove someone? And we're really talking about removal right now. Oh, so this would be removing the second person from the screen.
Yeah, and
or from the household. I see.
I'm really embarrassed to say this, but I never really knew there was a remove member button up there. Sorry.
yes, I think that could be part of
It's
the
just
issue.
me.
It's just not very clear. I doubt it's just you, Inja.
Yeah.
I
Well,
have
thank
an
goodness we have a CP line. Sorry.
No, I think probably NJ, what you're doing is you're doing close my benefits and closing the individual's benefits rather than doing it this way, which is also a really great way to do it. And actually, I think the preferred way, but yeah, we've created ourselves a little conundrum here where we have too many ways to do the same activity and some of them aren't great.
Yeah, and so
Andrew,
yeah,
I have a
Maria, go ahead.
suggestion. Sorry, I was just gonna say, like, if I'm like, I was just trying to think what would be easier, maybe if it was kind of just like one thing or one step at a time, because this page looks like multiple different things. But like when we're going into report a change and we need to remove someone from the household, like if it was just like just one pop-up or question asking like, who needs to be removed from the household and like a drop down of that they could choose from or something like that. It's just an idea. Yeah, and then this part seems like, just a lot more other information, like if they're going to be temporary away, or that seems like maybe it could be another separate question. I'm not sure. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, no, I think that's a major part of this is that we are asking individuals to do multiple different things on this page. Tell us a lot of different information about themselves and about anyone else on their case, add and remove anybody from their case, and then also tell us any additional information about why someone may have been left on the case but isn't living with them. So I think getting into displaying different like pop-ups and things, those are great ideas, like prompting people like, hey, do you need to remove anyone from your case? I think those are great ideas. I think that leans probably more into like CR level territory of redesigning this screen. So I wonder what we can do that we might be able to get through as work items to get these changes in the system sooner. But I don't want to lose those thoughts because I think they're good, helping people be able to manage all of the information on this screen and answer these questions in a way that we need them to. James, I don't know if it would help. I have our test environment pulled up here. I can just show real quick like how those buttons actually function so that maybe everyone knows a little bit better about like what we're working with.
Susan has her hand up too. So Susan.
Oh, sorry, Susan.
I just wanted to say that sometimes I end up removing the wrong member because the remove member button is above a line, which is right below the other household member. So sometimes I get confused with who I'm removing.
Yeah.
So the placement of it is hard. So probably placing it under you know, this person is deceased or near, where is this person living with the primary would be the better place to put it. Cause that's where I usually think it should be, and I click on it and like, oh wait, I just removed the wrong person. And so then I have to just go back to my dashboard and start over. Especially if they have the same name, like if they're a junior in the house and you're trying to remove the dad, but then you remove the father, you know, the son instead.
Yeah, so maybe what we could do is, let me kind of walk through what we have here, and then I have an idea that I think might make that a little bit easier that Sam shared in another chat. So we're on this screen here. This is in the instance of a new application. So this is the primary household number. We have this person, their first names, preferred names, names they would like us to use, their birth date, their pronouns, their sex, and then we get down to this section, add members. So at this point, with only one person on the case, it at least kind of makes sense that clicking this would be adding a new member. When that's clicked, and the page loads.
As a reminder, this is our testing environment and it does not function as quickly or kindly as our production does. So hopefully you guys never see an experience like that when you're actually using the system.
Yeah, okay. Jeez. I'm so sorry. We have a very quick timeout in our testing environment too.
I want to bring forward Vixen. Could you explain what you were trying to say earlier, Vixen?
Well, what I was trying to say is like for myself that can only do medical, I would never really have a diverse thing. They either want to remove a member from their household. So the remove button is one I use all the time. And that's because I can only do medical. I can't help with SNAP or anything like that. So any other options don't really pertain. So like for me, if they don't no longer claim them on their taxes, we're removing them from their household. So I think it depends on the level of the community partners' access or what they're doing.
Yeah, and that's something I noticed going through the does this person live in the household questions, is they are kind of, there a lot of them are program specific or could be program specific based on what's being answered. So not always clear what needs to be answered if it is just for medical or if it is just for SNAP. Okay, so we're back at this screen here. We click add member. It's going to populate a bunch of new fields to add household member 2. And as you can see, once we click that, this remove member option is now up here. So really, as you're going through and filling all of this out, you kind of lose that option. It's not even there anymore. And this is what this, so say we had, we have this individual added and we're reporting a change and we get to this screen. This is what it would look like when we land there, is what it should look like. We see these individuals here. To remove member, we would have to know to click here, but really we're asking these questions all the way down here about, does this individual, is person 2 living with person 1? And so as we're answering these questions, we don't even see on screen the ability to remove that person from the household. Does that make it a little bit more clear what the issue is and what we're talking about, seeing it live, hopefully?
So Andrew, what happens if you've got 6 people?
Well, then it just repeats these same sections over and over again. And that's where I think it can get a little bit messy, is so now we're scrolling all through this page. We're seeing, we got the first person here, household member 1 of 3. The only thing besides that indicates what person you're working on is their name. So you have household member 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. And in your example, if we had 6 people, it would just continue, 4 of 6, 5 of 6, 6 of 6. One thing that was mentioned in another chat we have is saying rather than just remove member here, we could make this dynamic and say, remove person 2. That would make it a little bit clearer when you click this button what it's actually doing. Remove person 2 from this case. Another option would be moving this down into the questions of whether we're at, like, if we're asking, no, they're not living here. We could have this option down here because as it is right now, you can see if we're working on household member 2, we can see the beginning of household member 3's section here, and we see remove member. And I think this may be what Susan was getting at, is that you click this saying like, okay, I'm filling out household member 2's information here, and I click remove member. You may think that you're removing household member 2, but it would remove household member 3. And once you do that, it gives you a confirmation. And if you click that, then household member 3's information is all gone. You'd have to add member again to get them back.
Wow, it does look like those are too close to each other, the remove button and then the next, title saying the next members, the number of the next member. Yeah.
Dixon, do you want to elaborate what you just wrote?
I like if we just label it so it says that we know we're on person 2 or household member 2, so that people can track it if it makes it easier for people. I've always liked it at the top because then I know I'm removing house member 2 when I hit the remove member, but
would it be easy for everybody if you had gone down and it would say, oh, so the line is what throws you off, Susan?
Oh, you mean this line below? Yeah, it makes it look like the household member
Yes.
2 information is part of this upper section. Yeah, I feel like we should have the page break in between the different sections.
Brandy agrees with that. I'm wondering, with everything that says remove member, if there could be a box, and when you push the remove member, if it could indicate what number to remove it from.
Yeah, so we do have this confirmation that pops up. This is you're about to remove person 2 test. That's the name that I gave this person. And all associated information from your application. Click continue to confirm this, click cancel. So we do kind of have a stopgap here to like say that, but people are moving fast. They're filling this information, trying to get through this already really lengthy application. This may not be the most, we may be able to do something on this screen before we even get to that pop-up that makes it more intuitive to choosing the right person that you're trying to remove, or to even, I think part of the issue is we're not making it the most clear that it's an option to remove them. If you're already down in this section here, you may be, I think NJ was saying that they didn't even know that this was an option. So, or that removing someone was an option. So they, folks may be just choosing one of these, like what best fits their situation, when really they're intending to remove that person from their case.
Well, what I was saying, Andrew, is when you go up to remove a member, you could have maybe a little box at the beginning of it. And you've got 6 people that you have up there. Could you just put in, you got 6 people and say, member number 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You put 5 in that box and press the remove number.
Yeah, exactly. Or I think another option is rather than just saying remove member, it could say remove household member 2 or remove person 2 test from this case. Right?
Samantha, could you tell him what I mean?
I think we're saying the same thing. I was just kind of rephrasing it as a different option. I get what you mean, like having something that says household number 2, remove member, right?
Yeah, you got like 6 members and you got like a little box next to the remove number. If you put in the number inside the box and push the remove member, I think that might go a little faster than trying to indicate how many members to remove.
I think I understand. Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, George. You're wanting them to be able to, without scrolling, just be able to say, okay, remove member number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Okay, let me think about that because I want to, as we're thinking about it, we need to be thinking about how that will play with like screen readers for accessibility. So I want to think about that one a little bit more.
Okay, Vixen isn't too, she doesn't like that.
Well, if it just says house member number 2, like, so say the house member number 1 is the mother. Sometimes when it gets put in, then there'll be like house member number 2 is a child, and then later the mother gets married and adds a spouse, and now that member is household number 4, and I don't remember who's number 2 or number 4, and now they've divorced, and if I go in and hit number 2, I've deleted a child and not the ex-spouse. So as long as it had names and not just household member, because unless we can see the number for the member, I think it will get way more confusing, just personally.
Okay. Anja, what do you want? I mean, what do you mean? Oh, sorry.
Hi, yeah, at first I thought that I liked the idea of having remove member like right, under add member, but then if it's a new application, I think that will be kind of confusing, like, okay, why, you know what I mean? So I think that having remove member up there is okay, but just like someone mentioned earlier, like having a like clear line between the household number 1 and number 2 to make it clear would be very helpful. And having that remove member look just like the add member, kind of like, rectangle with a kind of dark blue. It look like not same button, but one is add member and one is remove member. Maybe it would work better.
Yeah, I think to me, that's something that we do. I think we should have it be consistent. Make this a button rather than this just blue link. And I agree too that this line break, move it above and maybe make it even darker to indicate that like, hey, this is a separate section.
Well, guys, we have a break coming up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think, yeah, we're overdue for a break. Maybe everyone can think about what they'd like to see off the screen, and then we can get into the actual original work item request that we were gonna do.
Well, James, can I suggest
Yes.
maybe, because I know we have other items on the agenda, maybe what would be helpful is to we've got, I think, a lot of suggestions back, and I think it might be helpful for us to go back and create a mock-up that reflects some of the suggestions, so we can bring that to the next one and have a couple of ideas, because I think it's really hard to imagine what it's going to look like, and it'll play better once we have mock-ups to react to.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just realizing too that we can't just jump into this briefing sheet work item too, because it's probably going to depend on how we set up the link to get to it, that screen.
Exactly. And we might actually, we kind of speculated the work item might go one way, but with moving remove member and modifying add member, we may actually find we go a different direction with this entirely. So
Agreed.
I think
Okay.
I think it might help if we can take the comments we've gotten so far, go back and build some mock-ups and then bring it back to the next meeting.
Well,
I
why don't
agree.
we go to a break and we'll finalize that decision on the when we come back, but
Yeah.
otherwise plan on doing the next two, hopefully, that we have in the agenda. So wow, we're at 12:07, so why don't we get back at 12:18? Does that sound good for everyone?
Yeah,
All right.
give everybody back at 12:18.
Hope you had a good break. We're back.
Go ahead and start a new request.
I guess I can share my screen and move over to some new topics. I should probably just go straight to the briefing sheet now I think of it.
I think everybody's back. I hope so.
Well, all right. Well, Andrew did a ton of work getting materials together, but we have, well, that'll help us when we get further along in this discussion we were just going on. So
Andrew, did you hear what Smith and I was saying earlier?
If it was during the break, no, because I stepped away.
good job.
Doing what he should have done, which was take a break, unlike me, not taking break. Whoops.
To move this forward for June.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think where we landed was we do want to take this back and work on some mock-ups based on the conversation we just had, because the moving and reshuffling of remove member may actually resolve the problem in a different way than we were thinking, but it may actually resolve the problem. So
Yeah, I think that's the right call. Yeah, I apologize for not kind of thinking that part of it through a bit more. I could have tried to come with something like that, but I think I wouldn't have had a lot of the input we got, so I think it was still a good use of our time. And yeah, we'll come back with some mock-ups of what those changes could look like.
Here comes a good part. CCOs. Let's go.
Yeah. Defect 6 digits here. Andrew, you want to talk about this?
Yep. So this one is, we kind of talked a little bit about what defects are earlier, but this is something in the system that's not working in the way that we would like it to. So I think some folks here may have been involved in another work group, or at least we've definitely in the past referenced another work group that's working on rewording some of the Spanish translations that we have in the One Online portal. And that's really where this is coming from, is we're using that's where we realized this issue is in 2 different places in the portal and on the PDF copy of the application. We're referring to CCO in 2 different ways. One is preferred CCO and the other is CCO selection. And we want to, our correspondence team wants to align that to just use one of these terms rather than both, because it can be confusing. And so I think to kind of describe a little bit more about each option, CCO selection is more literal in the sense that the user has selected this CCO. However, using the term preferred CCO is probably more accurate to what's actually happening. There's some circumstances where the CCO that an individual selects may not always be the one that they're assigned. So in that sense, we think it probably makes a little more sense to go with the language of preferred CCO. because that would avoid any confusion around like, hey, this isn't it's not the CCO I have, that's the CCO that I had initially selected. If you scroll down a little bit, we have some visual examples of what we have here. So there's a CCO selection screen where the person is selecting what their preferred CCO would be. And that one says, it looks like I duplicated the Spanish screenshot twice, but it was supposed to be one Spanish and one English. And we can see the Spanish one here. The English one should say CCO selection, but essentially would be the same screenshot just with English language. And then on the online portal summary screen, which is when we get to the end of the application, we see a summary of all the different changes and information that we've put in. We're referring to it there as the preferred CCO. So it could be a little confusing that we're referring to it as two different things. And then again, in the PDF application, which is the paper version that an individual could download from their message center after submitting an application, we're again referring to it as CCO selection. So this one, I don't think needs a ton of debate. What we're really asking is if this group has feelings one way or the other about what's better, preferred CCO or CCO selection.
Preferred.
Andrew, please keep in mind there's 16 of them.
16 what?
CCOs in the state of Oregon.
Yeah, so on this, if you're the screenshot here, you're seeing only a couple options. That's because I think this individual is someone in the Multnomah area where they only have two options. So it's based on zip code. I believe the system will show only what options they have to choose from.
I like this idea.
So Vixen saying in Eastern Oregon, community members don't get a choice. The screen doesn't really matter for their area. Yeah, there's a lot of areas where there's only a single CCO choice. So it's not always applicable. I think it's more in the metro areas like Portland and Salem where they may see multiple options.
I don't know if this can handle this idea or not, but I think not everybody knows what CCO, what area is covered, because down here, there's two of them. Actually, there are three. One Klamath Falls, Klamath County. One is JCC for Jackson County. Then there's All Care that covers Josephine and I think Curry. Some CCOs covers 2 or 3 counties. So I don't know if you want to put in here how many counties it covers.
I don't think that's, it's just a person with whatever CCOs cover their area.
Yeah, sorry, Sam.
Oh, I was going to say it would only display if they live in a covered area, George. So they wouldn't, me living in the Portland metro area, I wouldn't see EOCCO, right? So that information would just be like kind of extra information that wouldn't impact the choice, because I would never see a place I couldn't get access to benefits at. But also, if I know it's in Spanish, but if you look up at the screenshot at the top, it says Health Share of Oregon, más información. Oh man, now I've just spoken Spanish on recording and it was not good. I haven't taken a Spanish class since middle school, so it's been a long time. I apologize for butchering that, but that's a hyperlink out to learn more about that CCO. So we do give people an opportunity to get more information from the CCO before they make their selection or preference.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Say like they're in an area, they select a CCO and they go to move and they come back to their account. How is it going to help the person to change from a CCO to another CCO?
So yeah, when they go in to report that change in their address, they'll let us know the new address and the system will queue up this screen because they've changed their address, it'll queue up the screen to let them choose from the CCOs available at their new address. It's not the smartest system, but it's at least that smart.
I was just curious.
Yeah. And that's actually true in the mobile app as well, for people who are interested in the mobile app.
So I've seen a few answers that seem to lean towards preferred.
I'll go with preferred.
Does anyone have a problem with preferred?
Can you update even income or add, remove a member? That's from Vixen. She likes it preferred. So does everybody like preferred? It just says yes. Vixen then is preferred.
I already said I liked preferred. That's Judy.
Okay. Maria? Vanessa says yes. Brandy?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's everybody.
What happens
Cool.
if they say preferred and then is there a second choice that they can have if the preferred is full?
Well, I'm not entirely familiar with medical programs, and I don't know exactly all the scenarios where someone would be assigned to a different CCO. I think they should get notified once they've been assigned to a CCO, and they have like a time frame where they can request to change CCOs, if I'm not mistaken. But I think part of the issue is, unfortunately, there's not a lot of communication going back from MMIS, the managed information system, to ONE. So what we are displaying in ONE is what they've selected as their preference. And that's, I think, I think Maria mentioned it'd be amazing if we could see CCO assigned in one system. And we tried to work on this last year at some point with Deloitte to try and make this happen. And it's just due to our limitations of how ONE communicates with the Medicare Management Information System, MMIS. Just kind of a technical limitation at this point.
Yeah. Thank you.
And yeah, also as James mentioned, there's not too many places with more than two choices, or any places with more than two, but
Okay, Andrew, we're sort of falling behind here.
yeah, I think I've heard enough. I think we heard from everybody that preferred is the way we want to go with this. So I think we can move on.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, well, we have a couple more requests, but I think the idea was, we're already in the last 20 some minutes of our meeting and wanted to devote a little bit of time to future topics and a few other things. So I'm going to go ahead and switch back to the presentation, which always takes a moment. I'll jump ahead. So you can get ahead and look at the briefing sheet for the next two items that we'll be talking about. But I have this first line is something I added after the agenda went out, and I haven't really talked to people about it, but I just wanted a quick question to the group about how documents are mailed out. I had a sudden realization after talking with someone or communicating with someone that not everyone can open Word documents. If you don't have the Microsoft suite on your computer, you can't open them. So I was wondering, when we send out documents to you, is it okay if they go as PDFs? But if you have a strong preference for Word or Microsoft documents, could send them out that way and, and just tailor it for individual people. So I just want to ask the group PDFs are fine if, like the briefing sheet, the agenda, and maybe even this PowerPoint, is it okay if they go out as PDFs? Does anyone care?
James, for me, PDF is better because Microsoft lately has been doing a lot of changing on Windows 10.
Weird stuff.
Along with Windows 11.
Yeah.
Because if it goes into Word, it may just have me go ahead and try to sign in to 365 of their other program.
Mhm.
So that's PDF is better for me.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
Well, my opinion.
I'm just
sorry.
I am embarrassed that it hadn't, hadn't realized it was a potential problem, and so I'm glad you helped me figure that out. But okay, well, that's good to know then. And if if it's an issue, I can email some non-PDF documents to you as well. But okay.
Thanks.
Susan, you're okay with that? Maria, Vixen, Brandy, Vanessa? You okay with that? Okay, Maria says yes. Okay, Vixen said yes. Vanessa says yes. Brandy said yes. So you got your PDF.
All right.
Yay.
So yeah, that's just embarrassing for me. All right, so these other items here, all sorts of different ideas of what we could be of subjects we can talk about in the future. And we can go through them laundry list style, or I'm happy if someone is intrigued by something and wants to talk about one in particular. There's no real order to them.
I just have a question here. I didn't realize we had tax information.
Well, we don't. So,
I mean, good grief. Whoa. That's wow.
yeah, this is well, in fact, Paul, did you want to talk about this?
Sure. So from January all the way to April, the applicant portal team always seems to get a lot of phone calls about people that are in search of the 1095 for their tax purposes. I don't know how much the community partners experience this. And I threw out an idea to Samantha, actually. And Samantha was the one that informed me that that's really limited. We can't do it that way because of how communications work. So what we did is we talked about how can we get out the message instead of having people contact us about their 1095s, that they can find the information of where they need to go versus just calling. If they log into their applicant portal, the idea is to put a hyperlink that would explain to them either a phone number or B, an email address to reach out to the proper channels to get that information.
But they might be doing it. They might be doing it at the last minute. That's what
this is very true. This is very true. At that point, if they're doing it last minute, they're going to have to scramble. They're going to have to call the phone number to get somebody to email that over to them pretty immediately. And as it sits right now, we get a lot of phone calls that come in and say, I was just going to log into my applicant portal to get my 1095. you're not going to find that in your applicant portal. I don't know if that's just individuals not understanding how that works. So my idea is trying to give them a little more information versus they call in and all we can do is literally transfer them.
What if let's see, January 1st or January 2nd, whatever. We send emails out. This may be bizarre, but send emails out to all of these consumers saying, if you want, you know, a 1095, please call this number. So they don't start barraging you. Is that too much?
I don't know. I mean,
or a letter. Letters are expensive. So
it's not too much, Judith. I think the thing is technically people don't need their 1095 to file their taxes anymore. And that's why it's not available in the system. That doesn't mean that people don't ask for it, but they don't technically need it. So I think what we want to do is find a way we can get them to give them the information, right? That they don't need to provide it anymore. But if they really truly do want it, this is where you go without, without opening the door to make people think too much about it.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, as a widow, I had to do my taxes for the first time last year, and I made a mistake. And and this year I didn't, but I was so nervous, and I had all these forms that I had to, go online and search out. And I'm just thinking about these people. Yes, if you don't need it, how do you explain that? How do you convey that to them before you are barraged by phone calls and emails? That's I was just worried about you guys, that this is not a necessary thing. So
no, absolutely appreciate that, Judith. And I think what Paul is suggesting here, after I think, Paul, I did actually send you that link, right? I'm trying to remember, more than a couple of days, and yeah.
You did.
So I think what they're looking for is a way maybe we can direct people to this link, which will help them get more information and give them that contact information.
Assuming that all those people are using our online information.
Exactly, yes. Well, if they're calling Paul's team, they are, but you're making a great point that they could also just call the general line and be asking these same questions. And I think Maria said more communication and messaging for education and outreach about the 1095A and B would be helpful.
Thank
you.
I
agree with you, Maria.
I think that's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly. Yep. Thank you.
Right. All on the same page, as usual.
Okay, Vixen had a question. Go ahead, Vixen.
So a lot of times if people have moved over from the marketplace, that's where the confusion comes, because in the marketplace, they get their 1095A and it is in their portal. It is on their website, like application case, and they can go in and get it. A lot of people don't have the education or the understanding that once, they no longer were required to have health insurance, is when, because Oregon Health Plan used to send out a 1095B, but then once that changed, we no longer see those sent out to everybody that has OHP. So we do a lot of outreach that we teach the accountants and the consumers the difference between a 1095A and a 1095B.
Oh, good.
And it's the accountants that usually say, do you have health insurance? And the people are like, yeah. And they're like, well, we need your 1095 form. And so teaching the accountants that, or because most of our people don't try to do it themselves, even if they use like a community access group that helps for, applying for taxes, making sure that they understand that language to share with the consumers that OHP, they are not paying for anything, therefore they don't need that 1095 form, has been very helpful. I mean, I still get a few people that will ask, but usually they're ones that have moved over from the marketplace to Medicaid.
Oh, good, good.
Okay, Susan?
Yeah, so the most of the people who ask me for them is because they've gone to go get their taxes done and the person told them, I need this in order to do this. And so they're coming to me saying, they won't do my taxes unless I have this form, which, I mean, I can tell them all day long they don't need it, but like a person who's only speaks Spanish is not gonna go to a tax prepare and tell them what their job is. And so like, it's just like, at that point, I'm like, well, we have to call client services and ask them to send it to you. And it takes, I don't know, 20 days to get it. It takes a long time for them to get it. And they have to get it for the whole family. So you have to go through the entire family information to have them send the tax forms. And so, I mean, if there was a easier way or like a button request my 1099 and it goes to client services and client services sends them requests those would be nice as well. So I don't know.
So, and I think I'm gonna bring it back to the broader picture. Is this something, this has sparked a really interesting discussion. I didn't want to derail, but I was just gonna say, do we want to devote time to a future meeting to talk about this button and maybe other future interactions we can with the tax system? I know I have old advocate friends who are like, hey, the one system really should have more info on tax, with tax filing, da. And I'm like, yeah, we have got a long list of things we'd like to do. But
I don't see it being a problem being discussed. As long as we can get everything in and things will be done.
Any other comments?
Well, you've already heard mine.
Vixen?
Okay, Vixen, do you still have your hand up? I want to say we're going to get to your question too.
No, I totally meant to drop my hand. Sorry.
Okay. We have, this this thing here with this one survey data is we do have a survey that people get when they are, I think they're ending their session in the one account. It says, hey, do you want to fill out a survey? And there's like 7 questions. And we have hundreds of people who have filled it out and we have this data. Is that something this group wants to see and take a look at? That's also an example of a future meeting. Is that of interest?
Absolutely. But it's going to open a can of worms. I'm going to tell you that right now. We're going to go down this alley. Yeah, but I think we should absolutely have that information.
Okay.
Well, I think so too, because if it's in a bar form, then we can see the improvements that we have put into it as a group.
Yeah.
And see what people would think. And then it would probably show us what we need to improve on. Or, so on and so forth.
Okay. Right now it's a big old messy spreadsheet, but I can put some stuff together and maybe have something ready next month. And then we can determine how often we want to have a check-in on it. Maybe it's
more work for you.
Yeah, I know, but as my colleagues know, I do mess around with some of the data, so it's not the worst thing in the world for me.
Messing around with the data. Oh, that sounds suspicious.
Hey, that's the old line in statistics that I always liked was what is it? It's statistics like a light pole. Some use it for illumination, and some people use it when they're, the drunkard uses it for support. So, but in any case, yeah, weird stats humor. But also, I know, there's been some discussion of data security. I'm not sure what we can say about it, but we can talk about how it works. At least someone can. That's something I'm not going to be able to speak to very well, but is that a topic that...
Well, who would speak to that? Who can we pull in to talk about that?
I don't know.
Because I mean, everybody's interested. everybody's interested in the public arena about, security in your data and the information.
Samantha, Andrew, Veronica, is there someone you think who could speak to maybe not how perfect it is, but just how it works?
Maybe they can give us some examples.
Brandy, Vanessa, do you like this? Angela, do you like this? Maria? Veronica?
They're afraid.
I mean, this is something that we haven't obviously, I just like, it's something I've heard, so I threw it on there, and now realizing, oh, if someone wants to do this, how would we do it? There's a little bit of that going on.
Brandy likes it.
I mean, I guess I can think of it as, how does this stuff work? What do we do? We haven't had in the one system. Boy, I'm really going to say something dangerous. We haven't had a problem yet.
Yeah. But we don't want to waste time on something when we could be doing something else. That's
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we want to put that off till later, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not something that needs to be done right away because we have lots of other things to do.
This is true. And here in this meeting, we have several people who are part of our applicant portal technical team. Paul was just speaking to his experience of the calls he gets. But we haven't really devoted any time to hearing what this team hears on a regular basis. In a sense, it could be another data report out. So Paul, Veronica, Maria, maybe, just the idea would be to devote some time to one or many of you to say, this is what we talk about.
I think that would be good. I'm tired of it when people, say, what is this committee you're on? And I tell them and their eyes roll. I mean, they don't have a clue. I mean, the interaction to this program has moved forward so much, and they're still remembering what happened when it first started. And I'd like to hear some stories about how things are going. People are thinking.
Vanessa, what do you think? Vixen? Susan? Maria? Angela?
Oh, it's a quiet group.
Mine's in the comments.
What was that?
That was Vixen. Vixen, what did you say?
I said mine's in the comments. I love the idea of roundtables.
Oh, good.
When I think about like data and security, I think about like how would it benefit us to really take this in, and would we be able to give input on the client side? Like sometimes security could be a little overboard. Like I keep hearing like, oh, well, we have to change passwords every so often, yada, yada, yada. Like that's a security thing versus, oh, but our security is going to get leaked. But then things where, why can't we just download a 1095? Is that a security thing that it can't be on your dashboard where you can just pull it down like a benefits letter? Like, is that part of security why it's not available there? Like that's my only question when it comes to data and security. Like is there a threshold or a line where it's a little overboard and it's creating more of barriers to access of your information or services?
Well, we don't have access to your tax info. Then speaking of security, that's just something we don't have. But what could we connect with? And one thing I'll say, going back to the data security thing, is the danger is we bring in an expert to talk about it. None of us will understand what the heck this person is saying.
No, I knew that you were going to say that. They talk a different language. They're on a different planet.
So that's a possibility. That's a possible outcome.
Oh, Andrew, you're hiding behind your hat. You do know what we're talking about.
I do. It's also dark in this basement that I work in.
Oh,
So
they've got you
there we
handed.
go.
Oh, you've been sent to the basement.
Andrew's wife sent him to the basement. Yes.
Yeah, she and the toddler get the rest of the house. I've been banished.
Well, bless you.
I will say, knowing the people who we would bring in to talk about data and security, you guys, sometimes they make my eyes glaze over when they start talking.
Yeah.
But I don't want to dismiss what Vanessa was saying, right? Like around passwords, there's things we can talk about around that. I think maybe rather than having somebody come in and just give us like a blanket discussion of data security, we can bring up the topics as they come up of interest. And we can take them a piece at a time there.
Good idea. Good idea. Yeah, that's much more relevant.
Hey, Maria, what do you think?
I gave a thumbs up to what Samantha said. And I did also put in chat. I don't know how beneficial it will be or what we need, but maybe just a little info about what's in place right now. If we can just kind of be more aware of that. And then we can also kind of share that with members if they have any concerns about that.
Hey, James. I don't know if you've noticed, but we skipped 80 and 81.
Yes. Yeah. That's
We can have that in June's meeting if you'd like.
exactly. I think that's what we're gonna have to do. But so you've given us a lot to think about for future meetings. We're gonna be dumping it on our co-chairs to help design the agendas. But if any of these really pique your interest, don't be afraid to email us and let us know what you want to prioritize. But often what we do when we plan the agendas for these meetings is the staff, put together a bunch of options and then let Maria and George and whoever else who might want to attend our agenda planning meetings determine what this meeting will talk about. So I just want to remind you of that sort of structure to it.
Since we're going in the round table here,
Yeah.
I want to specify that my opinion is, guys, we have done a really good work on this. We've I've gotten a lot of positive feedback down here. Don't know about in your guys' areas, but I've heard that there's a lot of good improvements going on. They wish down here that we could keep it going, because some things they understand and stuff like that. And they're looking forward to the future on this program and whatever we can give them on what we're doing. So there is good positive feedback on this. I am impressed and I'm happy to work with all of you on this committee. I think we've come a long ways. How long has it been now? A year? 2 years?
Oh,
we're getting close to 2 years.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So we need to keep up with the good work and James, have you put out the advertising on this?
So yeah, two quick thoughts here. I have a draft of a flyer, but a while back in the chat, Vixen, you had a question about what was it? I'm trying to remember now.
So I had a lady, she was doing her one application on her phone, and she got to like page 3 and she realized she spelled her last name with one wrong letter. she tried to back and it wouldn't let her fix it. So she came running to me, literally like 2 blocks, and said, help me, because she kept it active until she got to me, and we couldn't fix it. And I said, well, we'll just go through and I will send an email and have it fixed. And now they want us to send her Social Security, and yet she's had a case with ONE prior with the correct spelling of the name, and we couldn't fix the name spelling. So my question is, can we make it so if somebody gets 4 pages in, they could correct their own name spelling? Because it seemed ridiculous we couldn't, and now we have to go through all these extra barriers to provide proof of who she is to get her name, literally an O taken out of the last name.
I have 2 minutes, guys, before I can adjourn this. I got a ride coming up. James?
That's exactly the kind of thing, frustrations that other people may have. And I think I'm so glad that you brought that up.
I'm just thinking, can we put it on the agenda for a future fix?
Yeah.
Yeah, given the time that we're at right now, that's probably something we're going to need to do.
Okay, perfect.
Vixen, I suggest you get with James and talk to him and his crew.
Okay.
Because we're
okay. I can do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to adjourn this. Anything else need to be said before I go?
If anyone else wants a copy of the very rough draft of this sort of flyer to share with other people about what we do, let me know.
Did you send that out in PDF again, James?
I did not. You have a PDF copy, but
I know. I'm special. Oh.
Okay, guys, I have to adjourn.
Bye, George.
I will see you all next time. Come to June meeting. Dion, I'm hoping you got all the information that we skipped, like 81 and stuff. I will see you in June at the next meeting. Bye, guys. Be safe.
Thank you all.
Thanks,